Okay, let's just keep it rolling. I hope I don't. I hope I didn't bring you any editions of coronavirus from Finland. Are you scared of the situation? You have like this sort of a end of the world bunker here.
Yeah.
You're prepared. You're preparing for the.
I mean, as a father, it's yeah. I mean, I don't know really. Am I scared about it?
I have.
I mean, it's kind of how I envision the world ending. Always have. You know what I mean? Like this is what's going to take us out. Some kind of like
zombie pandemic.
Zombie bug. Yeah.
Yeah, but
some bat bug.
I'm sort of like the mass media has cried wolf so many times that it's sort of I've become somewhat like a cynic. But maybe this is the real thing.
Yeah, I mean, I guess it's quite hard. You know, it's easy to think, oh, this is kind of internet scaremongering, but you know, when you're seeing kind of like some of the footage that's coming out of, from the rest of the world, from the rest of the world, the people like in, spacesuits like ET going into houses in
yesterday
parts of China and pulling people out. It's quite petrifying, but I mean, I kind of, to be honest, I hate. And I've always kind of searched out kind of solitude, and I hate being. The other day, I had to go to a meeting in West London at the Design Museum, and I had to get the train for the first time in fuck knows how long, and it was just like I was like
the underground.
Yeah, and I was just like, this is horrible. I mean, I cycle every day to the studio, and in a 6-mile cycle, I go along the river, then canal, and it's. I must admit, I am doing everything I can to try and avoid being in big spaces at the moment. But I think a lot of that is just due to, like, with 2 young kids, when you have, we've just recovered from the last cold, and it's just like, too busy to be taken out at the moment. So, but
yesterday I arrived at the Gatwick airport and somebody.
Yeah, what was the energy like at the airport? Was there a lot of masks and stuff?
Yeah, more than usual. And it's just somebody sneezed next to me, and I was like, "That's it." Yeah, it's sort of apocalyptic. Like,
I mean, there was a thing on the news last night, and they were like, "There's a rumor that Hyde Park's going to be turned into a morgue," and you're like, "Oh my god."
What's turned into morgue?
Hyde Park.
Oh, Hyde Park. Yeah.
I was just like, fuck. Anyway, yeah. But I mean, if it's fair enough me being in my little bunker here, but my kids are in a school with like loads of kids sneezing into each other's faces all day. So if we're gonna get it, we're gonna get it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I was back in Finland. I was in a railway station, and I was waiting. Actually, with my daughter, we were waiting for the train.
How old's your daughter?
She's gonna turn 13.
Uh-huh.
And we were waiting for the train, and there was a violin player on the platform. And there was something so beautiful and at the same time horrifying, because I just like studied a bit about the virus, and it was in my head that the world is coming to an end, and if you put a violin player on a train platform, it's always like quite like a cinematic.
Yeah.
So how long have you been here in your
on the water?
By the Thames on the box.
I've been in this studio now for, I think I'm coming up to my 5th year.
5th year.
5th year, yeah. And before that, I had a studio with in Shoreditch with Andrew Weatherall.
Oh.
So yeah.
Yeah, my condolences.
Yeah.
I once was at his DJ gig maybe 5 years ago. Unfortunately, I was so wasted that I have little memories of it. But
where in London?
In Finland, actually.
In Finland, yeah. How is the scene? The kind of the. Well, I guess. How's the electronic scene in Finland? Is it active?
Yeah, but I think everybody's getting older. I'm not sure if there are young ones coming up, but yeah, I think it's like it's like yeah, it was a blow when Mika Vainio passed away. Like I think it's 2 years or something. I listened to your radio show and I think you played something.
Yeah.
Pansonic or something.
I think I played all his all his stuff just after. Yeah, that was another tragic loss.
Yeah, I met him a couple of times. In some DJ booth or something. But
yeah, I played with him at a tonal. We played at the same. I met him
in Berlin.
Yeah.
Yeah, he was a quiet sort of guy, but
you know, and what, you know, funny enough, I'm working on his projects at the moment, and we were listening to a lot of his various different, you know, Pansonic. And how do you say with the O? How do you say this? Is that in?
That's a good question. I think it's from Norwegian language.
Right.
I think it's Yeah.
So we're listening a lot the other day and just thinking, you know, just such a genius, you know, absolute genius. The soundscape and the sounds he was getting, it's just, you know, so influential on certainly the kind of techno that I've kind of play.
Yeah, I think it was in '95 or something. I borrowed a Panasonic record from a local librarian. That was my first introduction to experimental music. It was sort of.
Right.
I remember I put the CD in the player and I thought that the stereo was broken. What's wrong with this music?
Brilliant. And what a great thing that it was in the library, you know.
Yeah. But it's
my library doesn't have Panasonic.
Yeah, but I think it's still surprising that he's quite known outside of Finland. It always surprises me. I remember.
You've got to think about minimal techno around the world. Minimal techno is techno full stop is you know, worldwide.
Yeah, Sonic Boom played our festival, and I talked with him somewhere, and he said that Panasonic is the only Finnish artist that he knows.
Right.
So
is that Pete Kempa?
Yeah, Pete Kempa, yeah.
Man, I used to love them.
I think he lives in Portugal or somewhere.
Oh yeah.
I haven't heard of him like in a couple of years, but maybe I should book a flight to Lisbon and make a podcast with him. It's always a nice excuse to meet with people. Yeah, his live show was amazing. He was like many people came up afterwards and said that the Sonic Boom was maybe the best show in our festival history.
What other highlights have you had at the festival?
Well, as an organizer, it's a maybe different thing. That I usually push the band on stage and then I go backstage to relax.
Right.
I don't watch shows. I've seen everybody live before I book them.
Sure, yeah.
But I think maybe Dungen played a quite memorable.
Dungeon.
Dungen.
Okay, Dungeon. Yeah.
I don't know how to pronounce it.
Yeah, no, you're pronouncing it right.
Dungen.
Yeah. Awesome. Yeah. Fantastic band.
Do you go? Do you see lots of live shows nowadays? Do you go out?
Yeah. Yeah, I do really. But I don't really. I mean, I tend to like kind of. You know, so if there's like. The more kind of like noise scene interests me more. I don't go and see bands. You know, it doesn't really. I don't really like any bands really.
You don't like any bands?
Not really. But I mean, I can't think of the last time I was like, oh yeah, you know.
But that's sort of the chase I like.
But I buy music every day. You know, I mean, I'm constantly buying. It's what, you know, I mean, I'm just talking about, when I say bands, I'm talking like, you know, straight up, you know, guitar, bass, drum, you know, kind of straight up bands. There's no traditional rock bands that I'm like I get at all interested by, you know.
Yeah, but the originality is always interesting.
But there's
yeah.
music, there's people releasing and labels that I'm like, you know, dying for the next release and chasing it and chasing. So I'm kind of, you know. But as far as like, if I go to see, I mean, like Them Likes There, I went to see the other day, which is okay. You know, Container, you know, if he's playing, I'll go and see him, you know.
But it's a,
for DJs in town that I'm really into, I'll do, you know, I would go. It just depends really, but there's no like, oh fuck, Tame Impala are coming to town. I want to, you know, I just don't really like rock music, you know.
but it's
I like noise. I like kind of, you know.
Yeah, but I sort of twisted it around that I'm not that serious about it, but I've been thinking that isn't there like enough music in the world? Like I have my Desert Island discs sort of, and I can listen to like 20 or 30 records for the rest of my life, and then I sort of chase the live experience. It's most of the time it does nothing for me, but if I think I find it like it's easier to find that sort of catharsis, or what's the word, you know, like
Cathartic.
yeah, in when you're seeing something live, something original. If I have to choose, which is ridiculous, you don't never have to choose, but I will choose the live experience over the record.
But I've got this other thing as well, which I think is a big part, is I don't like to see you know, bands that meant so much to me at certain stages of my life. I don't want to see those songs performed and not performed to the level that I've romanticized it in my head and grown up, and I've, you know, like there was a chance to see the Velvet Underground, like one of the last tours, and there was like no way I was going to go and see it. And I was with someone who, you know, was like would have done anything for the ticket and went, and I was just like, you know, I just knew I'd be disappointed, and I don't want to be disappointed. And the same with like, you know, Brian Wilson, I wouldn't go and see, you know, like there's certain people that it's just, I just don't want to have, they're just such inspirations for me as a kid.
You've never done the with Death in Vegas, the playing,
and that's a big part of Death in Vegas. That's why, you know, I've had the pressure on me this year to do Contino sessions live, and
that's exactly what I was going to ask.
It was huge, you know, huge money and everything, but I can't to go out and tour and do just the best of those songs. It just doesn't, as a creative, as an artist, it has no appeal whatsoever.
Yeah,
none at all. And people are like, well, what about your fan base? And it's like, well, you know, what about them? You know, it's like, I just think it's like, I don't really, you know, I make music because I need to curate every day, and if I don't, you know, I just don't know what else I would do. And it's like, it's, for me, the process is just about creating. And I've made records before, but I've never came out, and they're some of the best pieces I've ever done, and it doesn't really matter to me. It's just a case of I need to go in and make art every day, and if I don't, then I lose my mind. You know. But
do you have any like a wish to be cured of that? Do you think it's a curse?
Yeah, it can be, very much. And it's also, it's a curse, but it's also a, you know, a gift as well, because, you know, back to the kind of cathartic kind of process of, you know, of the way that you can, you know, there's different stages in my life. I've had some serious things I've had to deal with, and there's one period in my life where it was, you know, it was darker than any time, you know, any situation I've ever been in, and my way of dealing with it was by making music and kind of channeling it in, channeling that energy, and that's a real gift to be able to do that, and I think if more people were able to kind of, you know, to have that, you know, it's a privilege to be able to do that, I think. But it's also a curse as well, because it's like, you know, you
will go insane.
Balance. Yeah. And I tell you something I find is really, 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 really hurtful, and I haven't had this to me, but when I read people, you know, reading, and journalists reading and saying, people are like, you know, like, listening for an example, like the Rolling Stones or something, you know, that's, you know, just plucking out the air, and there's like, you know, they should just like hang up their instruments and retire and sit back on, all this kind of stuff. It's like, you read that not just on such a big level like that, but there's so many times I kind of, you read those comments and it's like, you don't understand what it's like. That's like, I don't know, like, it's like kind of cutting you, I don't know, like kind of like breaking the legs of a dancer or something like that. You know what I mean? It's like kind of, it's something. But if you're a creative person, I think it's something you have to do. And it doesn't matter if you're creating and your work's not up to the level. But people, I mean, I met someone the other day. This is an example. I met someone the other day at Cafe Oto actually. And the person introduced himself. He was like, and the guy was like, "Oh no, this is Richard from Death in Vegas," and that's always a bit embarrassing because you're like,
Yeah.
And he was like, "Yeah, Continuo Sessions, that's your best album," and I'm like, first of all, who are you? Secondly, it's like, you're telling me like, so what? Everything I've done since, it's kind of like I it makes me, it's like fighting talk, like like telling you like that's your best record. And it's like.
But the word
actually, it's it's not the point, and the point is it's just like that kind of everyone's comparing us, constantly comparing yourself to like your previous work or whatever, and it's like it doesn't matter. The fact is that some guys or some woman is in their like 70s and still creating, and it's like good for them. Keep doing that till you drop if that's what you need to do. But this kind of like comparing everything to like. That was your successful record, or it's rubbish.
Yeah, this weird word, the best, because it's always like it's a competition or something. I think he meant most important record. That would be like, what would you say if somebody comes? The Continuo Sessions is like a really important record to me. That's a different thing than saying that.
Yeah.
It's like something switches off in your head if somebody says that that's your best thing. But I remember Mercury Rev released I think Lighting new record in 2015 or something. I liked it a lot, and I asked Mercury Rev to play our next summer's festival, and then they agreed, and they later asked that should we play the Deserters Songs album? No, why? I didn't understand that. Of course, play what you want, but I really liked your last record, so why don't you play that songs from that also? I never understood them. It's weird to play some. It's a different thing to play live than.
Yeah. And I think back to that thing, like when I was saying like me being asked to tour because it's 20 years of Continuo Sessions and people wanting me to tour that, and it's like, well, then it would seem like I'm doing this as a kind of, it would feel too much like a job as well, and I know and I've never seen this as a job. I'm seeing this, this is.
You have not seen it as a job.
No.
No. That's like
it's just what I kind of do. It's like kind of, it's the same way that like, it's just, when I was 13, I did my art scholarship to my school, and I started preparing for that when I was about 11, and all my life I always had, I had a sketchbook and I would draw. Like I kind of always knew that I wanted to be an artist from a really, really young age. I'd go to museums and I, when I was like 10, and just draw. And I was like, that's what I'm going to be. I'm going to be an artist. And in the same way, I've just seen this as a continuation of that. It's just like, this is that sketchbook still,
I had that for many years, that I didn't want to call my doings work, but I sort of like got over it.
Yeah.
Because it's I think among artists it's also really common that it's sort of maybe some kind of shame or something. It is like
right.
You know what I mean? It's
Yeah,
like
yeah.
But I also
I don't think it's. I mean, it's more like going out and doing like, right, I'm gonna do a song 25 years old just because you're paying. That to me seems like
But maybe there's like somebody's working on a salt mine and somebody is like drawing.
Yeah.
Like so, there's like this difference. So it's maybe somebody has like a thing in their head that I can't call this work. I don't know. But if you use most of your time to do what you do, I think you can call it work.
Yeah. Doesn't feel like work.
Doesn't feel like work.
It just feels like kind of living, really.
Mm.
Yeah. Like kind of, I mean, I do feel blessed. I feel like it's a curse, but I feel blessed with this, you know, like, but it's a weird world, you know, it's weird working on your own in a, you know, situation. It feels very, you know, sometimes I feel like I'm like living in a open prison, you know.
Open prison.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. It feels like a prison sometimes.
You build your own prison.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. And it's nice to be able to kind of, you know, it's nice back to cycle, because I cycle here, and so like at, you know, 2 a.m, whatever, and I kind of stop everything and I leave, and like I don't have, like at home, like this is just all pretty much, apart from a couple of things, nearly all techno in this room, and at home like I have all my other music, and it's like a kind of, I feel like I kind of leave this world. I mean, if you see the other space, it's like a design studio, and it's like all the visual stuff. So I've got like the visual side and the music in this spot, and it's nice to go home and cut away from all that and leave the open prison.
How many records do you have? Do you know?
Well, this is just pretty much techno here, and then I have another room with lots of, and then I've got a huge collection at home. So my collection at home is just all my kind of world music and, you know, hip hop and rap and every other genre basically. But here is and I've been doing lately. I've been doing a lot of mixes. I've just finished like. Yeah, I had to do like crack mix and stuff like that, so the records were a little crazy on the phone. So.
Are you planning to play live now? I remember I asked you a couple of years ago when after you released your first, was it an EP or something?
Come on.
You have those music videos in YouTube, the overview effect and stuff like that. Mm-hmm. Then you said that you won't play live.
So I'm planning to play live this year. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. As Richard Fearless. Yeah.
Yeah.
But I'm not doing. It's kind of not being announced at the moment, so I can't really talk too much about it.
We can edit it out.
But there's a follow-up record to the new album, which is coming out in September, and that's what I'm doing live.
Mm.
And I'm presenting like an audiovisual show.
Mm.
Yeah, but it's not dance music, it's not guitar music either, but it's
noise music.
It's, you know, it's more, you know, it's more of an ambient album. So that's what I'm performing. And that's coming out in September. So the shows at the moment, we're speaking to various people, like, you know, some big art institutions about performing there, because it's more of a visual show, and it's like a culmination of a lot of my visual work as well. Yeah,
the venues are so important in the ambient. There's not like a
But ambient's kind of like, it's a word. It feels a bit dirty of a word to say. I'm not. You know, it's just not a dance record.
Yeah, but it's like a drunken audience. Can be like a drunken audience is harassing the show. It has happened many times, but But
yeah, no, it is. Yeah, it's very important that the venue and the space and especially because the idea of what I'm doing with the work and yeah, I'll show you some after this. I'll show you some of the work. I can show you a little bit of it, but you'll understand a little bit more.
Okay, nice. Are you like working on Death in Vegas stuff also, or what's
So at the moment, I'm producing a band,
Oh, okay.
Selfish Cunt. Have you heard of this band?
I'm not sure.
They were like kind of art rock and roll band. Fantastic band, really good. And so I'm doing the new record for them, which I'm doing at the moment. So we're doing that in here. Just finished my new album, which is coming out in September. And working on my art show, which is kind of what what I'm doing live is there's different sections, but there's an art show of my visual work, and then there's a live performance, including an AV show. So at some places we're going to do everything together. At some places it's going to be the gallery for the artwork and performance in a different space. So it's kind of like multi-layered. So this is kind of what Death in Vegas seem to have risen at the moment. Yeah, it kind of seemed very, when I started making Deep Rave Memory, it just seemed very natural. But this was like the right thing to do to kind of to releases to after doing these white labels as Richard Fearless. It just seemed kind of like I needed to keep doing that, and it seemed like that was the right thing to do. And we did my last shows at Death in Vegas with 9 Inch Nails, supporting them, and
Cool.
And after the end of that, I was just like, I knew I needed to go back and make a record as Richard Fearless, and now I've made the one. It's like the second one just flowed. It didn't really stop. Really, I went straight from the first into the second, and I was doing at the same time working on this. Because 10 years ago I stopped Death in Vegas and I went back to study photography again, because in my 20s, when I was at art school, I signed my record deal as Death in Vegas while at art school, and I kind of had to I didn't put everything on hold. I finished my degree, and I still did artwork. I did all the artwork for Death in Vegas over the years, but as we were saying earlier on, all my life I thought I was going to be a painter when I was younger, so I kind of stopped this.
Who's your favorite painter?
Bryce Marden. Bryce Marden is one of my favourite painters.
Okay.
So the career kind of very much like that all of a sudden kind of like that kind of side got put on hold, and while I was doing these records, I was like, I started having this concept of this idea, which I started working on anyway. So this two started feeding into each other, into the music and back and forth. And then it just became, okay, this isn't anything to do with Death in Vegas. This is Richard Fearless. This is just me and my, And the weird thing is Death in Vegas is me anyway on my own. But it's like a weird hat I put on when I do Death in Vegas record. Like I kind of, it's quite easy. It's quite easy for me to make Death in Vegas record, but the thing is, it's why I don't do it a lot. Is it really takes a lot out of me. It takes a lot out of me because I know what I need to. It's not just a case of making the record. I know I have to put a live show on, and I put a lot into that. And I feel like there's this pressure of just taking Death in Vegas out on the road. And when I did the 9 Inch Nails tour show, I just didn't really enjoy it. And I was like, this is. Maybe it's like this kind of thing I have to put on, and I put it on and I feel quite comfortable, but I don't enjoy it.
Did you tour in the States?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Are you like a art history geek? Do you do you love to study the styles and artists of the past?
I mean, I did when I did art history as an A level at school.
Oh.
So I mean, but it was. And I didn't, to be honest, I didn't really enjoy it because the other thing I find is I have a really bad thing with memory. Like ever since I was really, really young, like I can't remember, and I'm dyslexic, but I'm really bad with like memorizing numbers and things like this. And it was a real problem for me at school. So
You mean like a mathematics or? Like,
yeah, but just like kind of telephone, I can't remember. I can't remember any number, like telephone numbers, dates. So a problem at school with dates, because at my school particularly it was very like, you know, it's all like about dates. You know?
But do you remember faces and names and?
Amazingly with faces, I'm really.
That's so weird.
Yeah. And so I've got a really good visual memory, and like when I'm trying to remember a number, I have to like put it into a picture and stuff like this, you know, so I kind of found it. So I found like kind of doing art history. It was kind of like quite. You know, it's kind of like I struggled a little bit on the kind of on the side of the. It just became like doing history with dates and stuff like that. But I feel like I'm kind of constantly, you know, I feel, you know, I'm kind of one of these people. Like I draw a lot of inspiration from my situation all the time, and I think that's one of the reasons why I'm here. You know, like I'm not that into looking in the past. And that's you know, the same with art and the same with music, really. Like at the moment, like I'm not someone who's constantly going to shows, exhibitions. I don't find like I need that like to get myself inspired and stuff like that. I feel like I'm constantly inspired. You know, I feel like being here, I'm inspired. The sounds of the factory, the tide, the river, the energy. There's this German word, Strom. You know, when there's the flow of, you know, the flow of the current, the flow of the water, and you know, we have two rivers meeting. There's a lot of energy in this.
Yeah, I walked here, so there was like this industrial symphony going on. Really loud noises everywhere.
Yeah, and I mean, it does everyone's head in, and I love it. You know, like kind of. So I feel like I actually feel if I didn't have the studio at the moment, I don't think I would be in London. If I wasn't in this spot, I would be out.
Where would you be?
Probably in the countryside. Somewhere. And before I found this place, I was looking at fish farm to take the studio. That was all these, you know. I was like, I can't be in London anymore. After I had the studio of Andrew Weatherall, it was just the room, and I felt really kind of claustrophobic. And before that, my other studio was underground, where I did Contino sessions and Scorpio Rising, all those albums. It was like in a basement, 13 years, and I was like, I can't be in this environment. I need space.
You need a window and a view.
I need space, yeah, exactly. I need, you know, I grew up in the desert, and I grew up with a lot of space, and kind of, you know, I need that in my life at this stage in my career.
Do you want to go back to where you grew up someday? Do you have like this?
I'd love to, yeah. Absolutely.
I have that kind of thing. I want to move back to my hometown.
Yeah.
I always talk about it then.
Yeah. I mean, I'd love to, to take my family, but you know, just that thing of like being able to kind of, you know, see weather systems coming in before they happen, and kind of, you know, just kind of that thing of just not feeling you're just looking at like the other side of the street. It's like kind of there's the bigger picture, and there's something about kind of, you know, oh, here the rain's coming, you know, like being able to see, you know, no, but you know what I mean, seeing it calm, you know, this thing, you know.
Yeah, but it's when I was younger, I grew up in a small town, so I wanted to move to bigger cities and stuff like that. But after internet arrived, I realized that I don't need the services I don't need to like live near a cinema or record shop, because basically I can get everything from the internet, and I could live in the countryside.
Yeah.
So world has changed so much today.
Yeah.
But I still need my pilot's license, because
Yeah.
I need to travel like all day if I want to see city lights. Let's see. Yeah. Did you live in the States for a while?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so 10 years ago I stopped music. Well, I said I was going to stop music, and I moved to New York, and I went back to college.
Mm.
to study photography.
You sort of stopped the creative.
Well, the reason I said basically I remember I had this point where I was DJing like a lot. I had a residency every Saturday night, and then I was DJing like maybe 3 times a week. I was working really hard in the studio. Devon Vegas, I've always done I've always done like Monday to Friday. I never worked weekends, but it was always I
You are here every day.
every day, yeah.
Yeah.
Here I'm like, if I'm working with normally I work with an engineer. If I work with an engineer, I work 11 till 7. If I'm working on my own, I'll work like 11 till midnight or something like that. So I'm but I always do Monday to Friday, and then for weekend with my children. But anyway, I got to this point when I just found I needed to not listen to music. I kind of couldn't. I was like, as a teenager, I had a Walkman on all the time. I just always had was just listening to music all the time. As a really young kid, from like 7, 6, I'd walk around with a stereo, with a Walkman, and then the same with my teens, and I started working in record stores, and I just felt like I was just like bombarded, and I just had this point one day was like, I don't want to listen to any music. I need to like just go into my own headspace for a little bit. And so I was like, I'm going to go to college. And I went back to college. But I took an acoustic guitar to New York, and I never really played guitar, but I kind of was like, I mean, I could strum myself, a little bit, but I was like, okay. So I took the guitar, and something happened in New York that was really full on, and I can't really go into it, but I had to kind of deal with a really heavy situation, and it was probably the darkest time in my life. But the guitar was like this, thing I kind of picked up. So I started writing these songs, and that's when I did the Black Acid album. So I actually ended up writing a record and making one of my best pieces of music. And I've never released this album, but that was in my time when I was supposed to stop doing music. So I kind of didn't actually stop doing music. I just stopped touring and doing Death Vegas and DJing for like 7 years.
That sort of place I'm in, that all my life I've been listening to music a lot since my teenage years, and now I'm being like, for the maybe past year or two, I've been really bored. I can't like get anything out of music. I can like sense, if I curate a festival, I know what's good music, but I don't like feel it in a deep way. So exactly. I'm curious how to like.
But it was a really good thing. It was a really good thing to like just like stop listening to music. Like kind of like just listening to it all day, and that like there was something really beautiful about I started singing a lot, and I used to sing a lot. I was in choirs when I was a kid and stuff like that. Like at school, the school I went to was really strict boarding school, and I was like I went in the choir from like 7 till 13, but it was a really serious choir, travel around the country and stuff. But I really enjoyed it. I really enjoyed singing. So I started singing again, and it was just felt like it was a really, it was just a lovely way to kind of to have this kind of like this break and to deal with a situation and kind of like just channel everything into the record. But I think sometimes you just got to kind of stop, and there's a book that I read a few years ago. I'm trying to think what it was called. It was about this field. It was about field recordings, and it really opened my mind, that like kind of I felt like I was like kind of I found the creative process of making music a little like like unsure of what the direction wanted to go, and I think this kind of really turned me around, because I started reading about people who were various different artists who were doing things like, there's this one choir, I think it was in Iceland, and they were like a sound choir, and this woman was doing these field recordings and like recording the sound of the rain, for example, and then with the choir they were basically like singing sound, interpreting that into song, and you know, like kind of like how you can kind of push sound, and then like being, you know, I've always been into Frobby and Gristle and stuff like that, and there was huge influence on me. But like, you know, thinking more about, you know, reading up about like, you know, what they were doing with Coombe, and you know, kind of just trying to be a little bit more avant-garde with the approach, I think. And maybe this influenced a lot Transmission, the album I did, and it's certainly influencing the another project which I'm working on at the moment, which I've got a new band, which is a bit of a secret, but it's really influencing that project. Yeah.
You found
Yeah.
the spark again, just like.
Yeah, yes, that's it. You have to find your spark, you know. Yeah. Just going to show you something while we're talking. So I'm listening. I'm here with you.
Yeah.
Just going to show you some of the work quickly. Future. So this is my project I'm working on.
Oh.
So. I don't want to describe it too much onto this, so this is just for your, because it's I'm still to kind of show it, you know. But this is this is my artwork I've been working on for about 2 years.
Okay.
And it's all so I've been basically, I'm taking like kind of, with this project I mean like taking club lighting to natural environments and kind of setting up, but this is all work I'm doing in the studio, so this is all, there's no effect, this is exactly how it is, so I'm like making,
Those are photographs of.
these are photographs. Yeah. So on top of that, put a tiny bit of it. So this is the, I'm not going to play this right now, but yeah, so this is the projects I'm working on, but so this is more of the work, but then what's going to happen is so this is my photos, but this isn't mine, but I'm going to present the work in a sculptural setting and perform it live. So that's why back to the art institutions, we're looking at kind of places where I can kind of show it in the format that I want to show it, rather than like, I don't want to play regular festivals and have people like throwing like cups of chips and warm beer at me. You know what I mean? I want to do it in a controlled environment. I don't even want to be on stage. I just want to show my presentation.
Yeah, people are shouting like "play ice house."
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. Yeah.
Nice.
But yeah.
How's your record label, Drone?
It's good. We're just doing.
How many releases do you already have?
21.
21?
Well, no, 20. The 20th one was Deep Brave Memory, my album, and we've just got the 21st released, which is coming out on 5th of June. And then we've got another. Yeah, so we've got the next. My album comes out in September, which will be and there's a couple between then. So yeah, I think by September we'll be up to our 24th release. It's good. It's you know, I do the label with my wife Elaine, and.
Do you seek artists, or do you?
Yeah. I mean, I get a lot of stuff sent. I get a lot of stuff sent, and I don't think anything that I've sent being sent. I mean, I listen to everything I get sent. I get sent pretty much stuff like, you know, I've never not listened to something someone's given me at a show or something like that. Like, I'll always listen to everything. And you get a lot of people like, do you mind if I send you some music? You're like, no, it's not a problem. Here, send it. And then they kind of like get a little bit pissed off if you don't like.
Yeah, I know.
You know, and it's like, you know, come on, man. You know.
I've booked like hundreds of gigs, but maybe 2 or 3 bands I found. Like somebody contacted me, and I listened. Oh, I like that. Then please come to play my festival.
Yeah.
Maybe 3 bands out of 1,000
Yeah,
or something like that.
Exactly. So I don't think anything that I've released. Actually, that's a complete lie. The album that I'm just about to put out was sent to me. So yeah, that's a lie. But mainly it's stuff that I search out. Yeah.
I have to send you some Finnish underground noise or something. Maybe you.
Yeah.
No, I won't.
But now, but a lot of it as well. It's all something that's got to the point where like I'm kind of, because I have this Black Acid album, and people are like, why don't you release it? Why don't you release it? And it's like I don't want anyone else to release it, but Drone isn't quite the right label at the moment. So I think what I need to do is I need to get like a sub label for like certain, because I start thinking like. I go through Compact, they're my distributor, and I'll think of a release, and I'm like, is that going to work? Is it going to, I follow my instincts on the releases, and I'm like very much like, is it something I'm going to be playing? Am I going to be into it? And that's kind of what my general kind of meter is, It's not like, are we going to sell many units of this? It's like, would I play it? Would I be, So that's kind of what I tend to kind of go by. But
is there like lots of office work or something? Like does it feel like work to run a label?
It does for Elaine, my wife. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, because she accidentally took on this role, and she's also really, really good at this side. And I'm back to what we were talking about earlier on. I'm an absolute train wreck when it comes to like anything like that.
Yeah.
So it has become a little bit like work, but it's also. I think over the last, when I was at art college, I signed a 5-album record deal, and I've kind of not that many years, I've kind of got out of everything, and now I'm like my own publisher, my own record label, and it feels it feels like a really pure situation to be in, and the label has been hard, but it's kind of also in a way, I think it's really kind of really helped my career in a way. Like it's kept things, it's especially in electronic music, it's really hard to keep to have some kind of relevance in this day and age, and kind of quite rightly so, you're dealing with like promoters are getting younger, the scene's getting younger, people are I feel it's you have to keep the labels kind of like, it's nice to kind of have something to kind of show the output of the studio and where I'm at as a kind of as a curator, and I seem to be getting more and more gigs where I'm getting asked to curate things. Like I do Trezor, just got I think we're doing our 4th event at Trezor in June, and there's a couple of other festivals are starting to ask me like kind of doing stages, and it's kind of like it's a nice progression. I think this is because of the label. It's not just because of it's not just because he's the guy who did Death and Vegas. I think the label's keeping a relevance, and but it is hard. It's hard to. It does feel hard sometimes doing the label, but it also feels like the right thing to be doing.
Yeah, you don't need the music industry anymore as much as in the past. It's sort of, but I don't know. Maybe the distributing side.
We're quite lucky with the distribution, because the way it works with Jerome is we go through Compact, and Compact deal with all our stock, and they do all the distribution and the digital. So it's quite, it's not like we're like something like, a small label like Trilogy Tapes, when you're like sending out to, Trilogy Tapes is a fantastic label and stuff, but we're not the people who are sending out, going to the post office every week and sending out, when Compact deal with all of that side. So in one side it kind of works out kind of quite nicely. We're just having to kind of come up with the concept, come up with the design, and sending it to them, and they're sending us, they're dealing with all the manufacturing and stuff like that. I think if we were dealing with all that, it would be too much for us to take on.
What's your relationship with the so-called music industry? I'm like
I don't have any.
Yeah, I'm sort of automatically always anti-establishment or anti-authoritarian, and then I don't have like good reasoning for that. I just something weird psychological thing that I always try to keep the so-called music industry out of our festival and the best I can and stuff like that. But then when I meet those people somewhere in a pub or somewhere, they're usually pretty nice people. Yeah. But there's still something like a some dirt or something in there. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, I guess I don't have, probably for about 10 years now, maybe even longer, I just don't have any contact really. I mean, every now and again I get asked to do some project, like I get asked to like, you know, would you remix so-and-so, and maybe I have to deal with some major label or something. Actually, no, I haven't done that for years. Actually, I don't know. But I mean, when I was involved in it and I was signed to a major, and you know, I remember once we got nominated for a Mercury Award, and we were at the table, and there was all this table from the BMG and Universal and all these people, and I didn't know anyone at the table, and that was like,
everybody looked like a lawyer.
That was Continuo Sessions, and it was like, well, it was like my label, my publisher, and that was probably when we were, you know, really peak time as far as like commercial, you know, the sales and stuff like that. And I didn't know anyone then, and now I don't know any, you know, like I've kind of, you know, as I said, no one's coming down and knocking on my open prison, so I don't really have to deal with that world. Like probably only insight into it is through my children's music taste, you know, now just seeing what's kind of, certainly my daughter, who's probably more, my son's hugely into Beatles, so that's
what's his age?
5.
Oh.
Like really into the Beatles, but my daughter's, you know, she's more into like you know, chart music, so that's my insight into what's going on, is just listening to her.
The other day we were friend and I, we were talking that when Elvis broke through and the Beatles in the early 60s, their fan base was like maybe 14-year-olds or something. It's so like weird to think about it, because what do the 14-year-olds do today?
Yeah, what do they listen to, you know?
I had this thought that I buy my daughter like a record player for Christmas and pick and choose maybe 10 of my favorite albums, but then I decided that that's a bad idea. I don't want to like push anything, and
right.
It's much like cooler to find those things yourself if you want to, if you ever will find them.
That's funny you should say that, because all my life, like when I was a kid in Africa, we didn't have much TV because it was during apartheid, and where we lived in Zambia, the only TV we could get was Afrikaner TV, and my dad didn't want it on because of, you know, his views of the apartheid regime, you know. So we didn't have the TV on, but we had a lot of music in the house, and my dad, when he was in Ireland, used to compete in dances, and my mum was
compete in dances,
dancing. Like go to like see the big bands would come over from America, like the big band leaders, and he would go to these dances in all around the island, and they were like, he would enter, and he was known as the ice cream man.
Do you like to dance?
Love it, yeah.
You like to dance?
Yeah, always, yeah.
Oh.
And my mum was also really into kind of traditional Scottish dance. My dad's Irish and my mum's Scottish. My mum was in traditional Scottish dancing, so they dance, and the thing that got me and my sister, because my sister DJs sometimes, was putting on a record in the house and trying to get my mum and dad to dance, but not like making a big thing, but like I just remember the power of like the selection from a really early age, and it was like a real buzz, you know, because it was like a joyful thing. And my parents split up when I was quite young, so there's quite a lot of alcohol and drinking involved, and I think it was kind of like maybe clinging onto a really, you know, beautiful moment of happiness, you know, to see them just dancing and stuff like this. And so subsequently with my own kids, you know, putting on music at home, trying to get them to dance, and my job as a DJ, I've always felt, is to make people dance. I don't, but I want to make them dance to my rhythm, and that's the kind of challenge when you follow someone. I think as a DJ, it's like, you have to kind of say you play after someone, you're not really that into music. It's like you don't want to just change you don't want to change that. This is what I like, and you're going to start. It's about going on a journey and bringing them into your beat, and this is the kind of the buzz and the challenge for me. And so when I'm in the house, you kind of like, right, I'm going for my records, and I'm trying to put something on to make the kids. Basically, though, what I'm saying is my kids are probably the hardest audience I have, any audience to DJ to, because they're so different in their opinion. So when you kind of get a record and you get them both, like, you can see them both like naturally like just start dancing. It's such a beautiful thing, and I think that's something that I'm always searching for.
When I used to DJ, I always hated when people started to dance. I love to DJ in cafes, so when people are sitting down and it's sort of they're listening to the music, and if somebody stood up and started to dance, it's a lot of pressure, because usually they want to dance also with the next song, and I always panic because oh my god, no, somebody's dancing around, and what will I play next?
No, I do. I mean, I still find that I'll go into a room and I'll focus on someone, and I can see the person often you focus on, you're like, or maybe a group of people, and you're like, I do see that as that is, if I've turned up someone I've been paid to play at a club, like it's important for me, to kind of keep the.
Are you like a stand-up comic who concentrates on the people who are not laughing in the audience? You want to like a.
Yeah, a little bit. Yeah. But I think it's definitely, it's back to that thing as a child of like just trying to kind of, just remember that moment of just like seeing my mum, my dad dancing, and just feeling kind of, getting like a wink from my dad. And even to this day, like when I go to my dad's house, my dad's really into sports, so there's sport, like this, like the radio on, it's a match, something is always on, but as soon as the meal starts, everything gets turned off and music gets put on for the meal. And, to this day, like, I might, like, I'll put something on. If I'm there, I always put on a record, it's like my dad just expects me to go and put something on the stereo. And, getting a little, like, wink from my dad, like, good selection, it means so much, even, like, when I'm nearly 50 and my dad's 80, just to get the little nod, like, that's good. Some Congolese music, like, perfect, good,
Are you into sports at all? I have this, like,
in a way I am, like, I was very into sport as a kid. Like I played squash for my county and stuff, and I was into long distance, like cross country running, and I pretty much did, like, my school was quite sporty, and I've always really liked playing sport. But what I don't really like is I don't follow any teams. Like I'm not really into, like, I can kind of, like, if I walk past two people playing table tennis, I would stop and start getting sucked into the game. I'm kind of that kind of, like, person. I can kind of enjoy the kind of sport thing, but I don't follow, like, I'm not like, I've got so many of my friends who are, like, such hardcore, like, football fans and stuff like that, and I find I was quite early, like, I haven't got the time to follow a team. I just haven't got that, and to listen to music all day. I haven't got the time to, people I know who are so obsessed into, like, especially into football in this country, it's just like, they spent years of their life committed to it. It's just too much of a commitment for me. But I am into sport as far as, like, I'll actively play sport with my kids all, on the weekends, and,
Do you, like, take care of your own body? Do you go to the gym or something?
I think, I cycle every day, so I do 12 miles. I do 12 miles a day.
Yeah.
And swim.
Yeah, that's sort of when I was younger.
But that's more, to be honest, that's actually more for my brain, for my mental state.
Yeah, exactly.
That's my main reason. And it was kind of like, as at school, like all the things I really like, squash is quite a singular sport. It's not a team sport. Long distance running is quite singular, and cycling, which I was really into about 16. Like, you know, I'd cycle around the island and stuff like that. Like, so they're quite insular sports. I wasn't, you know, like into like the team sport. So I was more into like kind of, you know, pushing myself a little bit, you know, when you're on my own, which I think is kind of what I've done all my career, really. You know, same thing.
Yeah, it's like as a teenager or younger, it's sort of stupid attitude that sports is not rock and roll, and you just like you stay away from like anything that would be physically good for you.
Yeah.
But as I get older, I started to take care more of myself better. You know. But
like
as you said that I'm like I'm more creative if I've taken care of my body.
Yeah.
I'm sharper and stuff like that.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, but it's just I slipped back into sports like in ice hockey and maybe Formula One. And a couple of years ago, I started to feel that everything is sort of so politicized, and that sports, it was like escaping. You can escape everything to the sports, and you can just follow.
So you still play ice hockey? Or you watch it? You just
I watch it, but I used to play it, of course, when I was younger. But there's in the southern part of Finland where I live, there's no snow. I have to travel to the Lapland almost to go to like natural ice. So. But yeah, it's ice hockey is like it's a bit health risk because you get hurt easily.
Yeah.
So I was just last week. I was snowboarding. That was nice.
Nice.
Yeah.
I've never skied or snowboarded.
Oh.
No. I always wanted to, but I couldn't afford it really when I was a kid. Because at my school, like, people would go skiing at Christmas, but it was like the kind of rich kids.
Mm.
My dad couldn't afford it.
Not in Africa.
Well, the thing is, I went to, even though I was born and raised in Africa, at 7 years old, I got sent to boarding school in England because my parents split up. So I got sent to boarding school, and then on the holidays, I went back to Africa till I was 21. So I stayed in boarding school from 7 till 18.
Have you been back to your old neighborhoods in Africa as a grown-up?
Last time not to Southern Africa. I've been back to Africa a few times, like playing and stuff like that in Northern Africa, Tunisia and stuff like that, and Morocco. But I've not been back to Southern Africa where I grew up.
Yeah.
Because I mainly lived in Botswana I was born in Zambia, and then I went to the Middle East for a few years, and then I went back to Botswana for the main part. We lived in the northern part of the Kalahari Desert from about 9 till 22. So.
Yeah. All right. Yeah. We talked over an hour, so we can wrap it up.
Cool.
Thank you very much for your time.
Oh, not at all.
It was nice to talk with you.
Yeah, you too, man. Thanks for coming down.